Dénht'ā, hi, how are you? My name is Ella Lamoureux, and we're back for another amazing episode of Dénht'ā. Hi, how are you? Once again, Dénht'ā is in my native language, means hi, how are you? So how many times can I say Dénht'ā in the first 2 minutes? Dénht'ā! I'm quite excited to be back with our third episode, and we have the beautiful and the talented Krystal Withakay with us. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Waikasilkukwast, everybody. Iskailan hui squeezed spaxwawlm, kantil skatus niut kikin moot, waikin limpampna tuskalchalt. It's a good day to be here. My name is Northern Lights. My English name is Krystal Withakay.
I love that. I was just jumping on this. I recently took some language classes of my own, and it was, I'm not going to say it was hard, but it was a lot more time consuming than I am, so I know a tiny bit of my language, which is quite exciting to hear yours. But before I get going, you said your name is Northern Lights. How do you say that in your language?
Spaxwawlm.
Spaxwawlm?
Spaxwawlm.
Spaxwawlm. Nice. My name in my Indigenous language is Dénht'ā. I want to talk about native names because you brought it up. How'd you come by yours?
I had nicknames growing up, different ones from different sides of my family. So one part of my family is Sakani, another is Okanagan.
Oh, nice.
Right, so, or Siilach, right?
Yeah.
So, but my home is in Siilach territory, the 69,000 square kilometers of beautiful Indigenous life forms and Timilch and Timhulach. It's good. Okay, so I was actually pregnant with my kid, and I had reached out to my family because I didn't have an adult name, right? So I had nicknames growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to have a name. I certainly didn't know how that was gonna work or how to do it because nobody in my family had been doing name giving since my tupa had left into the ancestor world, right? So well, after I reached out with my family, I was actually at UBC going to school at the time, and my instructor was good friends with my family, but they in the sidelines kind of had coordinated it without me really knowing.
Yeah.
And we had my name giving ceremony in class for language.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was 21.
Yeah.
Very pregnant, right? And that was sort of that's how it all happened, right? So the name giving ceremony process happened, and then my grandpa chose the name Spaxwawlm for me because he said because of the way he would lay down before he would rest, right? So he'd lay down, and the way his bed was set up, he could look out the window.
Yeah.
Right? So really cold nights, like especially in the winter where he's located, were better opportunities, I guess, to see the Northern Lights, right? So Northern Lights is an easy way to say it. But what he told me and our relatives is what I'm really named after is the green part that moves.
Ah.
That's
the part that dances in the sky.
Yeah, so but the Spaxwawlm, right? And then saying Northern Lights is what a lot of us do to kind of abbreviate or say our name. Like we're such polite people that we change our language and the terminologies to accommodate so that other people will on some level understand, right? So that's
so neat that you got it that way. And to touch a bit on you saying that we accommodate, it's so true because I also have an Indigenous name, and I don't say it all the time because I find it's easier just to tell people it's Ella, or like my name means the wanderer. I'd be like, it's Dénht'ā, but if you want, you can just call me Dai, you know? But as I'm getting older and as they say it more, it becomes easier to tell people my Indigenous name. And I don't know why it's such a weird feeling to be like, ooh, what, should I keep it hidden? But I don't think so. I think we should celebrate it and tell everyone it, right?
We have a certain type of barriers with our own language, right? When we speak our own language, we don't, like in our generation especially, right? We are not born into this world speaking our language. Our first language typically is English. And our second language is actually our ancestral language, right? So when we don't have groups of people in our lives who speak our language, naturally, right, we have the little twinges of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because it's, as much as we like to be unique and as much as we like to be like artistic and colorful and vibrant, there are parts of us, the meaningful, parts of us that still deeply, deeply gravitate towards connection, right? Yeah. So we stand out to connect, right? We speak our language to feel connected to others, and then we feel over time, right, more connected to our name. Because as children, we have our nicknames, right? And they're really cute and fun and beautiful, and people laugh when they say them. And, as a teenager, I didn't want to get called my family nicknames, right? I was like, I'm too cool for this. I'm
Don't
way
say
too
that.
cool. Like, stop calling me that.
You only say that when I'm at home.
Right? I'm cool, And then, but all of us are adults for the majority of our life, right? That the window of like youth and being a small child is very brief. So I think that, we, with my name, and I would hope with yours too, right? Like to step into that more often and feel like totally 100% secure and loved and that is actually who we are. But when we think about our name, what it stands for, the actions that we take naturally shape more into who we are. Yeah. And it makes sense because when we think of nicknames when we're younger, they're very intimate. So when other people say it that you don't have that bond with, sometimes it feels like, why are you saying that? And I feel that's with my Indigenous name because I held it so dearly for so long that now when I hear people say it after I told them, part of me is like, that's not for you. And then I was like, no. Like, you can call me that because they do have beautiful meaning. Like you told the story of Northern Lights, spaxwawlm. Yeah, spaxwawlm. It's a beautiful story, especially with the green part that dances. Like that's so beautiful. And mine means the wanderer because my grandfather had a dream of me wandering the night that I was born, like the world. So like it has stunning, beautiful meanings, and it should be shared at our comfort level, obviously. But yeah. The way names are given to are shaping differently. I would say they're shaping and manifesting differently too now because we don't have a lot of like elders in the territory who speak Nk'eluxtun like fluently. Yeah. So the way I did it was unique to the way I lived my life. I was at school at the time, right? Yeah. And that's how my teacher had access to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're good friends with my grandpa and stuff, right? So like it all kind of worked out that way. But for my daughter, right, like I would have hers done differently. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Than that. Yeah. So like talking about that, do you feel that name should be given after you get to know a person so you can see their traits and their personality, or it's just like a feeling kind of thing? Well, with so obviously like naming a child would be better with people who actually know the child or who are agreeing to be in the child's life. And then how it was done, I guess for me, like in the background, right, was actually my relatives talking about me. Yeah. Right, they're like, this is how she is, this is how she normally is, like this represents her. So they told that. Yep, and then they kind of came to an agreement that, it makes perfect sense. And then as soon as they said it, they're like, you know what, that is Krystal. Like, that is her. Accurate. But how I am green and dance in the sky, I don't know just yet. You're just transcending all the time. Yeah, it's just figuratively, right? It's not for real just yet, right? Before we go on, I want to talk a bit about language because you mentioned that earlier, but I just want a little side story. When I was younger, I grew up in the Yukon, so northern lights were very, very prevalent, and they'd get so bright that you'd see multiple colors. We had I don't know if it's a superstition, but my grandparents told me to never sing to the northern lights
because that's your ancestors dancing and showing themselves to you while they're dancing. And if you sing to them, that's encouraging them to take you to them. So they're like, don't do that unless it's your time or you're not, because you're not ready to leave this plane. Mm-hmm. Is there like something similar like that around here about the Northern Lights?
Well, as Indigenous folks, I'm going to say it's really common along Turtle Island to have the
similarities.
The superstitions, right? I guess you could call them, or like protocol type things,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
The stuff that you don't fuck around and find out with certain things.
Yeah, right? I'm not going to sing to the Northern Lights. I'm not going to fuck around and find out.
I don't want to know what that means, like why people say it like that. Yeah. Like that's sort of like the spiritual hygiene we have, right? Yeah. We have this like these ways of keeping ourselves separated from the spirit realm, right? Even though we know
about connected and acknowledging,
we know it exists. We honor it in different ways and through symbolism and ceremony and different types of practices, right? So here we have some stuff, right? Like during different times, like for family loss, and then we have things where it's probably not a good idea to go, crying around at night, right? Or
the Wendigo, or whatever they call it around
whistling
here.
At night.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be doing that. Yeah.
My biggest one is this one used to scare me all the time because I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but bears terrify me. Mm-hmm. And we used to live in a cabin in the Yukon at the base of the wood, no running water, no electricity, completely off the land. And they would have big silverback grizzlies just walking in our yard. And then my father would have to go out and kill them because they become territorial. Mm-hmm. But they used to terrify me. Anyways, so the thing is, if you talk about something when you're out in the woods too much, it's encouraging them to come see you, to come visit. So anytime I'm with like my white friends that are talking about bears, I'm like, don't do that. They're like, what? Bear. Like, I just like start tensing up, and I was like, you're calling them to us.
You're like, I am literally like,
I am telling you to stop.
I am struggling here, like spiritually. You are breaching me. It's only funny because it didn't happen, right?
Yes, it didn't happen, but if it did, whew.
Right?
But like every single time that happens, I'm like, I just need you to stop for my own well-being. Just stop saying the word bear. And it's just wild because like I don't know if it's this, I don't want to call it a superstition. It's our traditional teachings that our grandparents have told us. And I was like, they lived through this all. I'm going to listen to them. They are my elder. They're my grandparents. Just stop saying bear and don't sing to the Northern Lights. Right.
Yeah, the calling of things and stuff. Yeah, and that goes along too with like our folklore too, right? Like we have the mythical creatures in our chaptik, and we have mythical creatures like in our Meet My Story. So those are stories before people and after people arrived, right?
Yeah, like creation stories.
Yeah. we have different things that existed in those time frames, right? So it's kind of like the sun on a cloudy day, right? Mm-hmm. Like
still there.
We know it's there, even though we can't see it. And then also things like Inchachait, right? So that's Ogopogo, right? And that's one of the mythical creatures that attracts the attention of people all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, right, the way that it's been explained to me, Tan Keluchin, like in the language from elders and well-respected knowledge keepers, I'm so cool with never seeing anything like that.
So am I. I'm like, I'm not ready. My spirit isn't ready. I'm okay. They exist. I just don't need to see them.
Yeah, even with like feelings.
Yeah.
And like gifted folks who can see things.
Yeah.
Terrific. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
happy for you.
Yeah, I'm cool. Loot in cha. It's not for me. Yeah. I don't want to see stuff. Like, no, I'm good.
Like, I'm happy where I am.
Yeah, I'm good.
Like, you were gifted those gifts for a reason. I'm happy to be sitting here.
Yeah. Even in the mountains, too, right? When it gets too quiet, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
when things happen, like,
yeah, you just stay where.
Why'd the bird stop?
Yeah.
Time to get out of here.
Yeah, I don't need to be here anymore. I'll leave. It's fine.
It's so wild. Like, because I have all these little things as well that I learned when I was younger growing up with my grandparents. And now when I'm in the woods and I hear these things or I don't hear something, I'm like, it's time for us to move on.
Yeah.
And everyone's
there's
like, why? I'm like, it's just a feeling.
certain things, yeah. When it
Yeah.
gets too quiet for me, that's when I'm like, yes, I'm gonna change locations,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Just keep moving.
Time to move.
Yeah. So some of the stuff too, I guess we could talk about a little bit is like 2024. Am I the first guest in the 2024?
Third.
Third?
Yeah.
So has everybody had a chance to talk about any of their manifestations for 2024? You have some? Do you have a
I
few?
have, well, I don't have any manifestations happening. I just have some health goals
Yeah.
that I'm going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Health is so important.
It's so important
oh, man,
because
it's
we
like-
stepped so far away from it traditionally doing it, and then we poison our body with so many toxins. I'm just like trying to keep this old girl healthy because she's turning 40 this year, so I need to try
Whoa,
to get
slow down.
Whoa,
Whoa. 40 is not old.
It's not. I know, but I want to get the habits happening now so that they're not harder to sustain later. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying 100%. Because health is one of those things, like, we talk about health in term, and so I talk about health, but living in health is a totally different
Totally
thing,
different.
right? So let's talk about all the things that we're not willing to do to stay healthy, right? Why don't we talk about that?
I know. That's something
Right?
I'm willing to do.
Like, sleeping in, like oversleeping.
Oh, totally. I'm going to spend one whole day a week in front of that TV and not moving.
Right? A binge series, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, like, 2 buttery of popcorn.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Family-sized chocolate bar, one sitting.
What is the point, right? What are we winning from? Like, right?
It's so true. But you mentioned manifestations. Do you have any for 2024?
Well, I call them that, but they're also. I call them manifestations, but I guess you could say it's some wants or prayers or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do it like my real New Year's, right? Mm-hmm. I like to do the resolution stuff. Mm-hmm. I always believe in that forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To believe that anything's possible.
Yeah.
Or any of the gifts that I've harnessed that I could potentially move forward into a next realm of whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's exciting and sparkly and fresh, and
it's like romanticized. It's pretty. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm an artist, so I see the world like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very colorful place. Mm-hmm. So I do that around my birthday. Her birthday's in September.
Yeah.
And the cool part is too, I also do it with Emily because Emily's birthday is the day before mine. Yeah. So that's where we talk about together what kind of year we would like to have. Because we're, I'm 37 now. Emily's 15.
Oh,
yeah. So, right? Right? So that's the thing is that I'm only going to be 37 once.
Yeah. You're like, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do? Mm-hmm. What do I want to remember back on my 37th year?
And same with Emily too, right? Because that's her first, that's a big year. Mm-hmm. 15 is a huge year.
Yeah.
Right? So I do that type of like New Year's resolution stuff around my birthday. Then when January comes, I like to do the spring cleaning. But it's not
like
really
spiritually.
But it's not spring cleaning, but it's like January cleaning of like getting rid of clothes.
Yeah.
I never wear it.
Yeah. Smart.
Right? Like there's all kinds of clothes that I have. I just, you know what?
Just accumulate. So
they
like,
just collect dust. They look beautiful,
but
like
one day.
I never wear them.
Yeah.
Right? So I get rid of things I don't wear anymore, shoes I don't wear anymore, things that would be benefit from being given away, like home decor, like old things that like you're just kind of laying around. Yeah.
That makes sense. Got to clean out the space to have like a mental area that's clean.
Old and like just like let different things, move through. And I know a lot of people do it like spring cleaning, but for me, I like to do it in the winter for some reason.
That's smart though, right? It clears it up and then gives you clean space for the beginning of the Gregorian calendar year. Oh my God. I'm thinking about like, when people say like they had the whole year and like that year went by so quickly. Mm-hmm. I keep thinking about what my grandparents or my parents always told me, always live in the moment. So sometimes I try to tell myself never to say that the month flew by. I try to remind myself of all the things I did that month. And then I'm like, okay, I've done a lot this year. So it didn't just fly by because I've done so many things. So I try to keep doing that so I can always stay present. Because I never want to forget the steps that I'm doing or the things I'm doing to better my life or just to live my life. Because sometimes we do that. We get so caught up in whatever happening around us that we forget that, I'm still here. I'm living this life. I'm doing my thing. So staying present is always, I think, my main thing.
Yeah. I'd say in the last 4 years of my life, it has been tremendously rewarding because I said yes to my gifts. Like, I'm not sure. So how long have you been like just working for you?
3 years now, 3.5 years.
Right.
Doing this full time as this, and it's just been growing ever since.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we get to put our energy into what our gifts, like almost like what our gifts demand of us.
Yeah.
Right? Our gifts are like, in my 9-to-5 life, I was really thrilled about my 9-to-5 life because it was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. Like I was really gifted and blessed in that way to have a 9-to-5 life that was fun and I could change things up and I've had really supportive like supervisors and stuff. There's still that part of me, that artist part of me that just was still
what if
lingering. Like what if? Yes. Also like I'm not totally full.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I left my 9-to-5 life 4 years ago, right, that was like taking the ultimate leap that as a knowledge keeper and as an artist, I would probably be okay.
Yeah.
But the cool part is, it's aligned. I feel so much more aligned than I've ever felt in my whole life. And 2024 is the first year of my life where I'm just doing my company. I'm just doing my business.
That's
you know
amazing.
what I mean? And then there's all the other hats that I wear too, right? Like being a parent, first of all. And naturally people would assume, I guess, or gravitate to the idea that a teenager doesn't need as much parenting.
Yeah.
But what I'm discovering is actually the opposite.
Yeah.
That there's more parenting required. So this stuff is different. The stage is different. My daughter, she got her first 4x4 whitetail buck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she did that in October. So that was her coming of age. And we did her coming of age ceremony in the mountains together.
That's amazing.
So this life that I've been living, right? Even though it was really hard in the first few years, like having the hustle. So like I was still doing gigs, like literally like between dropping my kid off at daycare and my 9-to-5. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I was like,
hustling.
and I was taking off on my lunch breaks to go take gigs and after work, just before I could literally scrape by to like pick up my kids. So I wasn't getting charged late minutes, from daycare, right? Like there was times where I was like really packing in a lot.
Yeah. Because like you wanted a better life for your daughter and for yourself, and like sometimes forgetting about being there as well.
Right.
And you mentioned like better, like there's more parenting for a teenager. Yeah. You can probably see that, but also I don't have a child, but I can assume that your child seeing you living more authentically you within your creativity, and that's probably like a bigger inspiration for her as well instead of.
Well, like that. I kind of was hoping for that. But you see, the crazy thing is that Emily's been around my artist heart her whole life. Yeah. And our scalach life, right? Our hunting and harvesting life. And she's been around that her whole life. So to her, standing at the sink for a few hours is no big deal. Yeah. Do you know to wash berries and do medicine and stuff? So she doesn't really realize how much she knows. And she gets kind of complacent. You know what I mean? She gets complacent. And
you take advantage of the lifestyle that you live.
Yes.
When you were younger, so I'm going to jump around. When you were younger, did you step away from that life for a bit, or did you go right from learning that when you were younger, staying within the traditional life, like the berry picking and the hunting, and then rekindled with it later on in life?
I was brought up by my dad. The first 5 monumental years was with my father and my uncles. And my mother had made the choice not to raise myself and my brother, right? So she had stepped out of the picture, but so I had influence from the male aspect and what that looked like from a really young age. And then it was my aunties who stepped in a lot to nurture me in other ways, right? I would say the only time that I really stepped away from it was from 14 till about 19, around there. Maybe 14.
The rebellious years when we think we know better kind of thing.
Yeah, right? Like I really loved to party.
Yeah.
And I really loved cocaine. It was like, cocaine.
Let's go. I am in the same boat with you. I grew up very traditional with my family and my aunts, like lived off the land. And then when I got to like a teenager and I was like, alcohol, wanted to all the time. And then when I got my 20s, cocaine. Like, I was like, I don't need that. I'm going to be an urban Indian.
Right? Clear.
Yeah, exactly. Ready for takeoff. Yeah. It's like, why do natives not like snow? That's a lie, they do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I got older and then I realized I lived a very fantastic youth. Like I was very traditional and I pushed it away. So now when I go home, I visit my family and they're like, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, like I'll help you gut this fish. I'm like, I'm not good at it. It's like, but I can get better. So it's just wild the things we take advantage of because we think things are more important, like booze and alcohol and cocaine.
Yeah.
Time and a place. Like,
right.
You know?
Stay safe out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Have a friend if you're going to do it with someone.
Right. So, I mean, with Emily, right?
Yeah.
I think she is really grateful for her life, the way we've designed it. And I think that it's kind of cool, like when she shares our lifestyle with her friends. Yeah. Which she's been really private about. And I'm like, why don't you bring them with us? Yeah. Like,
if they want to come out, just come out.
Ask them if they want to come. It's like, this is the thing about growing up. And I'm trying my best to come across as like, more so as like mentorship in some areas, right? So with Emily, like I'm still navigating how to talk to her, like what works and what doesn't, right? Yeah. And I find what really works is the mentorship piece. So when I mentor her instead of parenting too hard, right? Yeah. Mentoring her, so encouraging her to bring her friends. She's an only child. Yeah. Right? So bring your friends. Like you'll probably have more fun.
Yeah, and you'll be able to like equate it with a different memory. Be like, remember when we did this?
Yeah. So the last time, so when she brought somebody, we went quadding and it was actually around our birthdays. This wasn't the last time we went to the mountains, but this was the last time she had brought someone with us. Yeah. So we went to the mountains and we were offloading and getting ready because that was like moose hunting time of the year, right? Yeah. And her friend was so willing, right?
Like, let's go.
So what ended up happening was a little tiny fawn came out of the road. Like came out of the tree line and came out and like was like getting really close to Emily and her friend. And it was cool. Like the first time we had seen it interact like that, like a fawn that small interact. Yeah. Just the way and how far were we out, right? We were out. So it was really neat. Nice. To listen to her, like her commentary after, right? She's like,
with her friend while they're talking about it.
Yeah, they're like,
that so neat.
Emily's like, oh look, like good energy. We're gonna come check out some good energy.
You're like, that's right, babe. That is.
We're sweet Noomda.
That's right. Put the good energy out there. It comes back in. Sometimes in the form of a baby fawn.
Yeah. And then another time too, I brought her friend when we got our first summer bull, a summer bull moose. So I'm sure you might have experienced that in your lifetime, right? Where the bull moose, so especially in your territory, like
that like presents itself, like lines up, puts its neck out there, so you have that one shot, it's dead.
It literally like turns to broadside, and it's like
and it's like literally tilts its neck to you.
Yeah, it's like go.
Yeah.
He's like, are we doing this?
Yeah. I'm ready, bitch.
It's like. Good.
And like, you know that it's sacrificing itself because it knows it's going to feed your family for the season. Oh, yeah. And like, it's kind of beautiful situation. That's when my parents always told me to say thank you every single time. Like every time you go out hunting, you need to thank the land. You need to thank this animal for giving its life for you. And ever since then, I was like, gotta say appreciation.
Gotta say it. But that was So that was my daughter and her little homie. They worked together to haul that moose out.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, you better believe I was there.
Yeah,
of course, right?
Yeah.
But they worked hard. Like I showed them how to do the knots and everything, and connecting it to the truck. And Emily was in the truck reversing, and I was in the middle, and her friend was down below, right, holding the horns, steering the horns. So we'd back out a little bit, turn the horns, back out a little bit, turn the horns. And those girls, they were like,
they remember forever.
They worked so well.
Nice.
And it was like so it was a summer bowl. So we were racing the heat.
Yeah.
Right. So I took them the night before, and then we were back out there by sunrise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's only one. That's the only one of my daughter's friends that was able to get up at
on time.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like animals and people know. I have a little story about this as well that just popped to my head about like animals just knowing. So we went hunting in the Yukon for caribou, and my parents, we ended up getting 3, not on purpose. Like he's meant to get the bull and the female and the male.
Yeah.
And we're going to get it for our grandparents, so I got them both. But they didn't see that there was a calf standing behind the mother, so we ended up downing 3 animals. Yep. And it took us forever to get it out. But as soon as we downed them, there was a big grizzly bear that was just watching. And it just stood there. It watched us while we packed everything out. We did as much as we could that first day. But then my dad was like, it's like we can't get it all. But the grizzly was going to get it. So we took as much as we can that day. And then we came back the next morning. My dad's like, let's just check. Came back. Everything was still there. That grizzly was still sitting there watching. And then we took the rest of what we can out. We said, thank you. We left it the hides so that it can eat. We left it some pieces for it. And as soon as we took our last trip, that grizzly stood up and started walking down. And it was like it just knew, like, you know, that it was like waiting its turn. Yeah. So it's just like amazing what animals can do when you're respectful to the land, because then they're going to respect you. Yep. Still terrified as hell of bears, but it was kind of neat that happened.
Yeah. And I was taught the same thing is that the wolves and coyotes will give you one night. Yeah. Right. So that's why we would take one, like, you know, take one at night, do as much as you can, and come back at sunrise. Yeah. Right? Like the animals will give you
one night.
Just that's it. Yeah. and then right
and
afterwards
then it's fair game.
They'll rip it up. But I haven't had to deal with other things like, you know, certain things like that, but I know other people who have, right? Especially with like buffalo hunts, because those are different. That's a whole different ball game of hunt. That's 2 or 3 days. Yeah. That's a day to to get the animal considering, right? Yeah. And then that's like another day to take it apart, and then another day to get them out, right?
It's like so huge pieces, and it's big. We were young then, so I remember we used to have a little pack sack that I sewed because my mother taught us how to sew. And then we'd put like the hearts and kidneys in my pack sack, and I thought I was such a big boy because I was carrying so much. Well, my dad was taking a big leg and just throwing it over his shoulder.
I used to watch my little grandma, like my little Atsu. Like she was just little. Well, when I was small, she looked big, but I know she was little, right? Yeah. But she would grab moose quarters too, right? Yeah. And up north, the moose meat there is just different than down here.
Very different.
Right? So like in Sekani and Dénht'ā territory too, right? Like beautiful, massive creatures, right? So literally she'd like be this little woman, like,
just,
you know what I mean? Picking up a quarter, throwing it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Throwing it onto the devils.
They'd be the first one up the next morning making dry meat, you know, like not even sore.
Yeah, not saying nothing. You're working on hides, like, oh man, and like I work on hides now, and I'm just like,
I got creaking your neck because you're just like scraping.
I got power tools, and I'm still tired.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna live traditional but modernize. Plug it in.
Yeah, sanding. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you find it challenging to incorporate a bunch of traditional things with Emily? Do you think that would be hard for other people to include tradition into their upbringing of a child or into their life? Because I have some people that I talk to and they're like, it's difficult. And I was like, well, you know, it's like you don't have to jump wholeheartedly into it. You can do aspects and build, because it's all a learning path if we don't.
But it's easy for you and I to say it because we understand the lifestyle.
It's true. Like, don't be a pussy.
Right? There's certain parts of those packs, like even as a child for you,
and have to take a step back.
The choice was to pack.
Yeah.
That's your only choice. And if you don't pack, you're not eating, and you know that as a kid, right?
Literally.
Yeah. And if you don't help smoke, like, you ain't getting that good kind of, you know, smoked boiled meat. Like, trust me, if you're making lots of soup, you want some smoked because it's good.
Yeah, that's that flavor.
It has like deliciousness, right? I think that what makes like incorporating some of our incorporating our lifestyle into living just like the modern life, right? So we are obviously aware that we're living in two different types of worldviews, right?
Very different, a colonial worldview and our traditional life. And sometimes people find it hard to find the middle ground or a meeting of them.
Right.
Or some people feel they have to completely live traditional or completely live modern. And I was like, you can bridge them, and there's no right or wrong way to do that. You can do that however it works for you. Yeah. If it's just you smudging your house now and then, amazing. Because like no one should be able to tell you that's wrong. You know what I mean? If it's your cultural thing.
Yeah.
And then I have some Native friends, they're like, oh, you're not doing enough. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you. I was like, but I'm doing everything that I can right now. And yes, I'm building to have more traditional aspects into my life. But it's just like a slow process.
Finding the balance between both, right? To live in harmony.
Yeah.
So I think that there will always be some friction. Yeah. But the only time I was ever held back, and gratefully in my generation I can say this, the only time I was ever held back from incorporating my natural laws into my life was me. And my fears of you know, what I've gone through in my family. Yeah. So we've gone through the intergenerational trauma, the intergenerational racism. Yeah. Lateral violence. Yeah. You know, those things that hurt us, that are so real. Yeah. It's terrifying to be, you know, like it's very terrifying to live in the truth. Yeah. And to live in our own truth. It's a very terrifying thing to do because of how critical our relatives can be. It hurts. So I can take criticism from Shamak people. Yeah. Oh yeah. No problem.
Easy.
No problem. Like, folks say things to me, and some things at certain times of my life have gotten to me, and I've had to cut ties without notice. Yeah. You know what I mean? With certain people.
And we need to do that every now and then.
Yeah. And I've done that with folks where I cut ties. I was like, I'm not going to do this with you. Yeah. And
like, and I don't need you in my life, so I'm going to cut you.
Yeah, literally. Right. Yeah. And so then but with blood relatives, I find especially, blood relatives are very difficult to detach with love from, because of our natural laws that state where we come from, that these laws exist in us to the point of, like, we are biologically obligated
literally
in some ways, right?
Because there's a strong sense of family and community. Like you said, it's in our blood.
Yes, absolutely. It's in our blood, in our land, in our law, right? To recognize where we come from. So it's terrifying when, you know, we have relatives who have opinions about us and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves and how we're supposed to say this and not say that. Sing this, sing that. Don't sing that. Yeah. What I'm discovering in this beautiful part of 37, right, is not giving a fuck. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to fuck around and find out.
Right? It's like as an individual, I ought to find that place within myself where I know what I'm doing is good. Yeah. You know how I know things are good? When I know things are good when my kid is laughing most of the time. Yeah. Right? When we're cracking jokes most of the time. Yeah. When I wake up and I'm okay with starting the day or having a rest day, I know I'm okay, right? I know I'm living in my truth, right? Yeah. And I love to add, you know, I love to live a skeluch life. I was blessed to know skeluch chow our ways, so I want to live them. Yeah. Not just incorporate them, live them. Yeah. So the times of years, what I do for myself, right, is just like implement as much as I can and do the best that I can and just continue learning and stay teachable. Yeah. Right? But I don't know if there is a finite answer
I don't think so either.
Right? Because our measure of success and our measure of our own identity, right, belongs to us for a good reason. Yeah. Like there's a good reason why we aren't all mind readers. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a good reason why,
all don't see the same things.
Yeah, the same way. You know what I mean?
It's true because it's all individualized because it's all our own story and our own path, and we have to navigate that our own way.
Yeah, so if I wanted to be taken seriously as somebody who becomes a mentor and an advocate, how I kind of look at how I want to be treated first.
Yeah.
And also I take a really good, strong, serious, and private look at the way I've been treated as an innocent person, as a child, right? If I don't want to be treated the way I was treated, I can't turn around and treat you like that.
Yeah, that's true.
If I didn't like how people criticized me for how I sang, for how I danced, for how I spoke, then I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah. Literally treat people how you want to be treated, right?
It's a pretty basic skill, but I see how...
But a lot of people don't get it.
It's not in my family.
No,
not all the time.
Either, not all the time.
No.
Yeah, there's still those family members. I'm like, why are you being so mean? Like, yes, we're going to joke with each other and have like that humor, that native humor that a lot of people don't get. But sometimes it just like crosses the line and you're like, why are you pushing me away kind of thing.
The teasing thing, right?
Yeah.
The teasing thing. It's fun when I'm laughing too.
It's like I do a lot of comedy and I always tell people my goal is to make people feel like they're a part of the joke, not the joke. So I will say a lot of jokes. I'll say a lot of inappropriate things and I'll always push boundaries. But once someone feels that they're the butt of a joke, then I'm like, okay, let's hold back. I still need to bring you into there so that you're still laughing with me. Because like I said, once you stop laughing with me, then I know that I'm being a bully. Like, no.
Yeah. And in some of our work too, as entrepreneurs and like people who represent our own companies, right? I think it's really important to have that humility where we can just say, I made a mistake.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
apologize.
To acknowledge that.
Yeah. And that's sometimes as far as we can take it because like I can't control anyone's offended button either. Because I've met some folks where I'm like, hey, relax.
Yeah, calm down.
Like, holy, I know my heart well enough to tell the truth. And it's like, I really didn't mean to hurt you.
Yeah,
I really didn't mean. And if you're just going to come at me and just swing victim mode and like go off.
Yeah. You're like, I knew my intentions. I know that I wasn't being an asshole. And if I was, I apologize to it.
Yeah.
That's the best I could do. And if you want to take it, take it.
Yeah. And if folks who are offended, if you're folks and you're offended, right?
Do better.
Yeah. Just toughen up a little, like just a little, everything will be okay.
Yeah, I posted a thing on Facebook the other day that says to the people I offended in 2023, work on yourself so it doesn't happen again in 2024.
Yeah, that's a fair ask. Work on yourself. Yeah.
I want to swing back to something else where you talked about mentorship. Was there a point in your life where you were like, I want to be a role model in my community? Because you're a big figurehead in this area. Everyone knows you. Everyone knows what you do. You know your advocacy, and you're a very powerful woman. Was there
really? No.
Yeah, you are. You're a beacon. You really are.
You're so nice. That's so kind. I still see. I'm getting shy when people talk about me like that because I'm like, I don't know.
We'll bring back the teasing to make it more like home. But like, was there a point where you decided that you wanted to be a mentor, or it happened and you're like, ooh, do I want to fill this role, or you're just like, I need to fill this role?
I think I actually know it in my heart. I know I have been preparing all my life to be the person that I am today, the mother I am, the parent and person, business person, advocate for Siiluk lifestyle practices and culture and the language, right? I've been preparing all my life, but I would say there were times where I really wanted to let go and give it up. Yeah.
There is some tough times for sure.
The pressure of it, right? So,
because sorry, I'm just coming to this part, because us being who we are, when we get to a point of standing out in our families or our communities, all of a sudden it's not just one person looking, it's the whole community looking at you. And then you feel like if you falter, like, are you going to disappoint the whole community? And then we have to take a step back and be like, no, I'm just living authentically me. I don't have to put all the community on my shoulder Does it ever feel like that way for yourself?
It's a conversation I have like every other day. Like with myself.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all think like I'm just like this like spiritual person. You think I'm in the mountains all the time because I'm getting spiritual, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? Like I'm up in the mountains all the time because like that's where I do become clear. That gives me clarity so I can work with others.
Yeah.
I do it so often because that's a reflection of how possibly unclear I actually really am and uncertain I really am.
You're like, there's a clarity in the hills where it's quieter, and then getting into the chaos of this world, you're like,
because
I need to escape.
there are those natural thoughts. Okay, I have them all the time, right? The natural thoughts, like I want to make my family proud, right? And I want my exes to regret they didn't choose me. So like this, share it, make your exes mad.
It's amazing.
I think I was probably about 17 when I finally started saying yes to the work.
Yeah.
It was actually my atsu, my grandma. I was 19, and I was still in my party mode, right? Like I was still like, no responsibilities.
Yeah. Whoa.
Right? None. And I was working, making good money, right? So she said, I was up north, and she said, Krystal, you should go home. And I was like, holy grandma, I just got here. Like, I just got here. I just started, like, making lunch and whatever. Like, I'm not going home yet. She's like, no, you should go home. And I was like, back to your people and go learn about your people and learn your language. And I was like, oh, grandma, you're so annoying. Don't quit telling me what to do and how to live my life. I
know what
like,
I want. I know what I'm
I'm
doing.
a rebellious person. Like, I'm a party girl. Like, this is what I like. Right? Never mind. I just want to do cocaine and drink and smoke all the cigarettes I want to smoke.
I'm young.
Right? I'm young. Yeah, that's a good one. But lo and behold, right? I took some of her instructions and here I am today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
an advocate for my people.
Yeah, an advocate for your
learning
people.
my language and culture. Built a business off of it.
Yeah.
Like,
but like,
if
you can do that, that's amazing. And you have been, which is fantastic. I think about it because I never wanted to be a role model. I never thought I would be that point because I was also that rebellious youth that just partied and ran away from my culture and now coming back to it. But then I find that now I'm living more authentically me. People are starting to look towards me. And at first I was like, don't, ooh. Don't look at me because it's a bad example because I made some mistakes in the past. But now as I am very comfortable with myself, I'm living within my own like career that I've created. You're living within your career created. Now that I'm sure of myself, I feel like it's just easier for people to be like coming up for advice. I can easily be like, I don't have all the answers, but this is what I did, and this is when I went through.
I've done that
a good amount.
I've gone that route, right? And I've hit the red road, friends. It's a good one, right?
I love that term, red road.
Yeah,
every time I say it to people, I'm like, I'm on the red road. Everyone's like, what?
I've hit the red road.
People at home, it means you're on the path of healing.
Yeah,
If
it's
you're
a
on the
good
black
path.
road, it means it's a little rocky.
Probably doing a lot of coke.
It's not clearing the path for you.
In my experience, okay? That's what took me to the black road. Okay? A lot of cocaine.
Couldn't stay on the path, just weaving out.
Yeah, that was not clear. Okay, there was no instructions and no manual. But yeah, I guess like having some what was I talking about? The path, I guess, like when we give ourselves some permission to just be ourselves. I think it's really incredible what takes place and how approachable we become. Yeah. Right? I want to be the type, my favorite people in the whole world, right? Some of my favorite people in the whole world. The only way that I can demonstrate to them I'm thankful for their help is to live a really good fucking life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It honors people as well to show that you're doing well.
Yeah, because I went to the trenches. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Of like the hopelessness. Yeah. The hopeless state
the
of
dread,
being. Yeah.
The scared.
Not wanting to be here. Not feeling
thinking
good
it'd
enough.
be easier just to not be around.
Just kind of literally, join the ancestors. Yeah. Just take off, right? I went to those places. Yeah. and is very painful for people who love me, right? And very painful because when I actually got to that real place of not wanting to be here anymore, my daughter was 4.
Yeah.
And I actually thought I could leave her. That was a very painful place. I will never forget. I don't ever want to go back.
Yeah.
But granting myself permission to be myself does not eliminate where I come from, but it also redirects me to be in a better place for me. Personally, right? Spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, right? Those things align a lot better when I look after myself first, right? And I want to be the type of person like how others were to me when I was being mentored and people were taking my like batshit crazy calls. Because you got to have some people in your life who will take your calls.
Yeah, when you call at 3 a.m. in the morning because everyone went to bed, but you're still awake, right? And you have feelings.
Yes. And we are going through shit, right? So y'all out there watching this have to know, right, that there comes a time in life where we are, life will resize us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And will demonstrate and test us. Yeah. And we ought to have people in our life that we can call. Yeah. Right? So they'll take our call anytime. Those are my favorite people in the whole wide world. You know exactly who you are. I love you.
And those people need to realize they don't have to give advice. They just need to listen. Like, sometimes they just need to hear what you have to say. And if you have some encouraging words afterwards, because a lot of times I'm not calling you I need you to fix my life. It's like, I just need you to listen.
I want to be that for people, but I'm also choosing who I'm that for.
Yeah.
Because
you got to protect yourself as well.
Yes. But how gratifying is it to help others who are helping themselves? Yeah. It's a tremendous gift. So that's what I want to do in 2024 is I want to recreate and also create new friendships with folks who are doing for themselves too. Yeah. Right? That's
so you can build and grow together.
Yes. Because that's very gratifying and good work, right? Yeah. And then people who helped me out, who helped me be who I am today. And then people who left. Yeah. Thank them too.
And honor them.
Oh, thank you for leaving. And abandoning me. Oh,
that would be
so
bad.
awesome.
I thought you meant the ones that went to the ancestral plane, but we're talking about the assholes in your life. That cleared room for you to have a better path.
Oh, thank you.
I get it.
Oh, now I get it. After I'm like feeling better, I've drank some water. Had a rest. I went for a drive,
Clear my mind, went to the woods.
Yep.
I always there's a lot of people that come into my life too and asking for advice and things like that. And I was like, if we're going to become friends, that's great. And if you're going to look up to me, that's amazing. But I always let them know, I was like, just if you're going to learn from me, I'm probably also going to learn from you as well. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know everything and you know things I don't know. So if we're going to be friends, it doesn't need to be beneficial for each other, but it's great if it's like a two-way thing because you're growing together and learning from each other. Yeah. Granted, I have more to give, but just kidding.
So and for a long time, right? This is the self-permission stuff I was just talking about a little bit earlier. Yeah. In terms of people, right? Like granting permission to have better friends. Because I always believed that I had to be there for others who didn't have what I have. And now that I'm becoming older and then not giving a fuck at 37. Yeah. Right? I'm like, I really want to have friends. I want to know what it's like to have friends who are there for me too. Yeah. So my friendships before and my relationships actually, like boyfriends,
very one-sided.
And a lot of my career stuff, yeah. You feel exactly what I'm laying. You're
giving a lot out, but nothing's coming back in. So you're emptying your tank for people, but they're not helping to fill yours.
Yeah. So my friendships all worked for a lot of years. They worked until we all went through that 1 and 2 and 3 year of it together with the COVID stuff. That showed me actually some harsh fucking truths about people. Yeah. Sadly, that I thought were there for me, that I thought were my ride or die kind of folk. Yeah. And they weren't. Yeah. I'm really tired and exhausted of energy vampires and takers And then I'm so fucking tired of boyfriends who love me until they, until I am who they love.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's like,
or friends who love me until I am who I am. Until
like, oh, now you're too much. Like, I'm the same way of this whole time.
Literally.
It's like,
or it's
do
like,
I have to fit your mold when we should be like fitting together?
Yeah.
That's so silly. Like, don't put me into your box.
Yeah, either fitting together or side by side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some ways, I think becoming a terrific friend, and this is very few and far in between, right? Mm-hmm. Where we become so unified with a person. We know when to stand next to them.
Yeah.
We know when to stand in front of them. We know when to stand behind them.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're always there.
Yeah. Somewhere in that vicinity, we know, and we're so in tune with that loved one where we just know where to be.
Yeah.
And they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. But I want to be in that position too of life, of like starting to work with others who are doing something for themselves too.
Yeah.
Becoming a healed individual, becoming a healed Indigenous person doesn't suggest that I never hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't suggest that I don't struggle. It doesn't suggest, I like what you say too when you say, like, I don't have all the answers. It doesn't mean we have all the answers, right? It just means that perhaps I might have had practice in a few more areas than someone else.
Yeah. You've learned to not deal with it, but you learned to
navigate.
Yeah, navigate it in a different way that's healthy for you. You mentioned earlier about giving yourself permission. I was thinking about this while you're talking about it. One of the biggest things I had to give myself permission or to stop thinking about was as I started doing better in my life, talking with family members back home, I started feeling like this regret that I was doing better. And I was telling them that I was doing better because they were still in that situation of not dealing with past traumas. And I told myself, I was like, no. It's like, I shouldn't feel bad for the successes that I have or what I've created for myself, because I could be someone that they can look up to instead of masking it or hiding it so that they can feel comfortable around me. You know what I mean? So just like, it was a strong conversation I had to have with myself, being like, don't hide who you are, don't mask it, celebrate who you are, and then hopefully that can be a better influence for someone else.
Yeah. And it's amazing who it is a good influence for.
Yeah.
Who it helps, because it gravitates people it's not usually the people that we would hope,
mm-hmm.
right? At first glance, right? We would definitely hope it was our relatives, but it's not.
No. Once again, you said, like, our blood is in our bones, it's the rules, it's our life. And then it's hard to separate it sometimes, but we never turn our back on family. You know what I mean? And sometimes we should, but then we can't.
Like loyalty
to loyalty, detriment.
I'll be honest with you. Some family I have completely detached with love from. Completely, meaning they don't know me anymore, and I don't care to know them anymore. It isn't. It was
probably a big healthy moment for you. Yeah. It's probably hard at times, but healthy.
But and so like there's this like belief, right? Because of family for a long time, they put up with shit. Yeah, maybe that worked when I was a kid, right? But that doesn't work not
at 37 and not giving a shit.
Nope. As a scale of woman, as a good human being, mm-hmm. as somebody who's done the work too, and addressed some things in my life that needed changing, and la-di-da-di-da, the list goes on, right? Mm-hmm. I no longer have to deal with my blood relative shit if they don't like me anymore because I stood up to them, it doesn't mean I wasn't scared, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's terrifying stepping out on your own.
Yeah, it's terrifying setting healthy boundaries with family.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, and then mm-hmm. it's terrifying doing it with ourselves, and it's hard to do with work sometimes, and sometimes walking away from opportunities, right? It's hard to.
It's hard.
Strong people get forgotten.
Yeah, they do.
We get forgotten in prayer sometimes mm-hmm. too, right? Like we hear people praying.
She doesn't need it. She's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd still like to be thought of. I still want to be in your prayers.
Strong people, well, and us doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. It's still tough, mm-hmm. right? It's still tough because we're navigating and trailblazing and celebrating and working and resting. Mm-hmm. Right? We're doing all these things for the betterment of our people to have voices, right?
Yeah.
And folks forget that we struggle
Mm-hmm.
because we're doing good,
Yeah.
right? So what I want to encourage, like viewers especially, right? Like pray for strong people too.
Yeah.
You know, pray
It's still there.
for people who are doing really well.
Yeah.
Pray for leaders.
It's so true because same with myself, we're put in this position where people look up to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have those friendships you're talking about that can replenish our energy, because sometimes we're put up here and then we're like, well, who do we talk to? You know what I mean? That's why we need those good friends. I have like 2 in my life, but I don't need more than that, because like I have 2 good friends, those I could talk to. I know a lot of people,
Yeah.
but those are people that I'm just gonna like say hi to, have a moment, and we're still gonna talk like we're good buddies, but they're not someone that I'm going to drop everything for if they called me at the end, like the drop of a dime.
Yes.
So when we are in these positions of power, I will say, because we are powerful people, we emanate this control and this light and this energy for people to gravitate towards. But we also need to have the friends in our lives to replenish us, or ground us, or keep us safe, like our emotions safe.
Absolutely. There's a tremendous amount of spiritual hygiene that goes into this work, right?
Yeah.
Like keeping ourselves well. And then just the stuff that we can't control.
Which is like something that we need to really acknowledge too, because I always tell people, it's like, they're like, why aren't you worried about this? I'm like, I can't control that. I was like, that's out of my control. So I'm going to think about it and think how I can rectify it, but I'm not going to fret about it. Things that are within my power, that's something that I'm going to work towards, because I know I can change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if someone's like, oh, this plane crashed, be like, well, that's out of my control. Like I can't fix that. I was like, if I have like a relative that had a friend in it, I can console my relative. You know what I mean? Like those are things that I try to focus on, things that I can control, tangible things.
Yeah, and then some of the non-tangibles, right?
It's too much
like
for me.
Share with people that are just like your people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because the non-tangible stuff is like, that goes into when we are not feeling good and we are not on our A game and we are not spiritually fit and we are not okay and we are wrestling the seasonal challenges, right? Because what I find with my trauma is it comes and goes, and the waves, they're stronger at certain times. Even though I've had time away from certain lifestyles, right? I've had a lot of time. There's still waves that come that
And they hit hard.
They hit really hard, sudden, and out of nowhere, right? So I'm really grateful for the people who know when to stand next to me and when to just take my call and, you know what I mean, just hear me out and talk me up, right? And re-coach me. They're like, bitch, get off your ass. Shut up.
You got this. Tits
Like,
to the window. Or
yeah.
whatever you said.
Titties on the glass.
There we go. Before we go, is there any final things you'd like to say to your lovely people on the interwebs?
Yeah, find me.
Yeah, where can we find you on social media?
On social media, Facebook, Instagram. I don't like any of the other ones.
We will have her like where to find her posted with this video as well. But if you ever need anyone to sing or to speak at any of your functions, Krystal's the person to go to. Beautiful voice, beautiful drumming skills, and just amazing to listen to, as you've listened to this whole podcast by now.
Yeah.
But remember, it's Krystal with a K.
From the
C's
West,
too close to
B-A-N-K.
cocaine.
Yeah.
All right, Krystal, thank you so much for being on Dénht'ā with me. I feel like I just want to talk to you forever, so we'll have you on in season 2.
Cool.
All right, bye, everyone.